just for a few seconds. And then he turned around and he looked at me. And he said, I'm hungry. You want to go for lunch? And I said, sure. I said, we can go for lunch. But I said, I thought you invited me here to pray for rain. And this is when he turned and looked at me. And what he said changed my life. It changed my perspective and the way I think about my relationship to the world. I'm going to share it with you. Maybe it'll change yours as well. Here's what he said. I said, I thought you prayed for rain. And he said, no. He said, if I prayed for rain, rain could never happen. Because the moment we ask for something to happen in this world, in the asking for, we are affirming that it does not exist now. I invite you to think about that. When we ask the universe for something, we are implying that whatever we're asking for, or asking about, or asking to appear, or asking to happen, is not present in the moment. And in that way, we are actually affirming in the field the very thing that we were hoping to change. I hope that makes sense. The quantum field that we talked about in the last episode, if you recall, it is the container for all things. It is the bridge between us and the world, between what happens in here and what happens out there. And it is the mirror in our world for what we claim to be true in our hearts. So if you think about that, it makes perfect sense. If you're asking for rain, as I thought my friend David was going to do, if he asks that, then the field interprets that as him asking for no rain, because the rain's not there. So I looked at him and I said, David, if you didn't pray for rain right now, what did you just do? And he said, when I closed my eyes, he said, I felt the feeling as if the rain has already happened. I felt the feeling of what it feels like, he said, to stand in my Pueblo village with my naked feet in the mud. And the mud is there because there's been so much rain. He said, I smelled the smells of what it smells like when the rain rolls off the earthen walls of our Pueblo homes. He said, I felt the feeling of what it feels like when I walk through the fields of corn that are this high against my naked chest, and they're this high because there's been so much rain. He said, I felt the feeling of what it feels like when my prayer is already answered. And then I gave thanks for what has already happened. He said, in those few seconds, I felt the feelings and I gave thanks for the rain that has already occurred. This is a very, very powerful story to me, and it illustrates a quantum principle, because there is a huge difference between working toward an outcome and beginning as if the outcome is already present. I invite you to think about that.
Alrighty, hey, what's going on, everybody? Ceremonial Witch is back for another episode. What's going on? Yeah, that voice you just heard was Gregg, barden, and on multiple of his YouTube content videos. Sorry I didn't put this video out last night. I was supposed to. I planned on putting out this episode last night, but got busy, wasn't feeling well, and actually fell asleep quite early. But I am feeling much better today, and yeah, I'm going to be putting out a couple videos, or a couple episodes today, one for each, hopefully, if I get around to it. But as synchronicity would have it, yesterday morning when I woke up, I turned on YouTube, and the first thing I saw was a couple small clips talking about what I talked about the Gregg barden doing the Divine Matrix show, where he spoke about the twin babies and how they helped each other. And it was a condensed version, because the version I watched was a 3-hour-long version that Frater Xavier asked his students to watch. Me being one of his students, I watched a 3-hour version of it all. When I saw the girl spontaneously get healed from cancer, and it was very profound and very beautiful. And that was basically the introduction, was that part. So but then, yeah, I stumbled across a few other of his things, and I figured, you know what, I kind of shit on Gaia.com in my controversy, but my conspiracy video there. I said that, watching stuff from Gaia.com could be good. It could be helpful. It could take you away, because we're going from a place where people think there's no other life on any other planets, and now we have content being put out there saying there's life on every planet and aliens everywhere and they can kill you. And the reason for that is people are so stuck in their phones, stuck in their heads, and not believing in God or anything anymore, to the point where the media and we're trying to polarize them the opposite way. We're trying to tell them, they're saying that there's shit on every planet, life on everywhere, life on the moon even, and shit like that. And that's just to wake the people the fuck up to the opportunity to see, well, maybe there is something to all this. But I didn't just want to shit on them and not show and just say, yeah, Gregg's good, I like what Gregg's doing. There's many people on there doing good things and stuff like that, and I do believe and think you should pick up the channel. But that being said, you got to be mindful of what you're watching at. If you are just doing the initiation, don't watch the stuff that's going to scare you and all that. But anyways, if you heard what he was just talking about, praying for the rain, and the tribe didn't want him to pray for the rain, because the act of praying, saying, please, God, give me some rain, you're affirming that there is no rain. The only right way to pray for something that you want is to pretend as if you already have it. This is the reason that gratitude, being grateful, can bring you your manifestations. It could bring it all to you just by being grateful, because you're grateful for your shitty circumstances. You'll get better ones and better ones and better ones. Being grateful is just showing them that you already are grateful to everything that you have and that you're willing to get more. Whereas if you're asking for something, the universe is going to be like, well, obviously he doesn't want that, so I'm not going to give it to him. Or there's a few ways of looking at it, and that's what I'm going to get into here, is all the many ways that you can look at it. But I want to start off another clip that he put on, him and another gentleman speaking. Can't remember the guy's name. They put on a conference, and it was about manifesting things. I think they manifested something as a group, and they were trying to explain what happens in the brain, the exact parts that get connected when you start off by doing this process, and why it takes however long they say it takes. And then we'll talk about it after. I have about 4 more clips I want to play a part of that. It's a little bit longer than my clips there, but I think I got the gist points. But anyways, have a listen and let me know what you think, and I'll be right back.
heart, brain, choose to make those changes in our lives, Bruce is saying you can't do it through your conscious mind. When you create the heart-brain harmony, that coherence, it's called optimum heart-brain coherence. When you've got that 0.1 hertz signal between your heart and your brain, that opens the door to the subconscious. That's the equivalent of plugging that cable in right at the base of your skull. And it's at that place where you insert the new beliefs, the new thoughts, the new ideas, the new ways of thinking. That is you downloading that new information very, very quickly. We're not living our... The words sometimes, they seem awkward. You learn phonetically, and you say the words, but they don't really mean much. And all of a sudden, you wake up one morning, and like you're speaking Spanish, or you're speaking Tibetan, or you're speaking French, or whatever it is. You know how that happens. All of a sudden, it's like almost overnight, and you say, well what happened? Well, here's what the science is now telling us. All possibilities exist as information in the field. The information is not in the cells. What we do in the cells is we grow, and Bruce, it's exactly the term that I use, what are called soft antennae. So the way that the neurons wire and fire create the antenna that tune to the place in the field where that information lives. It is the very act of you striving to become more in one moment than you were in the last moment. It's the act of you reaching deep within yourself to grasp a new way of thinking. So a new language, or a new song on a guitar, a piano, or a new book to write, or a new title, or new poetry, or new sculpture, new art, whatever it is, that act is the impetus for the neurons to wire together to create the antenna that reach into the field where that information lives that you are asking to have access to.
All right, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I was going to the bathroom while I was ran to the first one, and then I had to put the second one on. So I hope I didn't have the mute button on for the first part, because that's a lot of dead air I'm going to hear after. And then, as I go to get up and wash my hands, the computer died. So I brought it down here real fast, plugged it back in, and I hoped everything stayed going. When I turned it back on, it is still running the live stream, apparently. So my fault for all that confusion. If there was some places where you didn't get the information, I'm very sorry. I will look at it later, and I will edit it. If there's any places where I did have a long pace of dead air, I will place in either my voice talking or Gregg's or that other gentleman's. But I didn't actually get to hear a lot of what it said, but I have watched these videos before, so I kind of know where they're at. And yeah, that's pretty fucking powerful stuff. Is all I'm trying to show you now, and it's mainly for anybody getting into this who can't understand why their things they're trying to manifest aren't being manifested to them right before their eyes, and this and that and the other thing. And it takes time, right? We went over this a few times, saying how. I don't know if it takes 3 days like he's saying it does. Now, I've had manifestations come in 3 days, but it's all about how fast you can forget about what you're doing. You know, you want to focus on your intention. You want to focus on what you want very intently. You really want to put everything into what you're trying to manifest. And then after you're done putting your emotion into it as well, you leave, you walk away, you're done, you don't think about it throughout your day. And then, yeah, they can totally come in 3 days. I've made sigils that I've never even charged. I just did the writing process. I made 7 different sigils once. I wasn't using my snowboard anymore, so I wanted to sell my snowboard. So I made a sigil for 7 days in a row, and on the 7th day, I actually went and brought my snowboard because I needed money that night. And I got a hell of a lot of money for my old fucking snowboard. It was pretty amazing. It was more than I was expecting to get for it. And like I said, I didn't even do anything with that sigil. I didn't do any pre-charging or actual charging. I just used the sigil as it was, and I didn't even bring it with me or nothing. I ended up having results like that. I've had results like that for other things too. The ball in the yard that Frederick Xavier talks about. I had success with that one as well. Putting the ball in the yard, manifesting an orange ball. So the stuff does work. It is true. Anyways, I'm going to finish off these 2 recordings there, and then I'll come back and I'll talk about it and incorporate it and give out some correspondences for it.
Together to create the antenna that reach into the field where that information lives that you are asking to have access to. But the thing is, it doesn't happen spontaneously. It takes about 72 hours, is what the studies are showing. About 3 days. So it takes about 3 days for these neurons to hook up, to reach out and firmly establish the connection with another like neuron, so that they're forming the antenna that tune to the place in the field where everything that you desire to understand or know or create or perform, it already exists. If you are choosing to create something new and it doesn't come to you easily at first, please do not give up, because it takes about at least 3 days for these antennae to wire. That is because the information is not in here. It is in the field, and that could not happen if these ideas were not correct. So I'm showing you it's going beyond theory.
We have to recognize something very important, and that is only 5% of the day are you operating from your conscious creative mind, and 95% of the day you're operating from subconscious programs. But then I said, well, what would happen if you stopped playing the program? And the answer is so wonderful, because all of you have taken that red pill at some point, and that was when you fell deeply in love with somebody. I said, what was happening when you fell deeply in love? And I say, for the first time in your life, you stopped thinking, because everything you wanted is now right in front of your face. And when you stop thinking and you become what is called mindful, then you are in absolute control. I said, look, your life could suck every day until you met this person, and then heaven. And 24 hours later, you can experience heaven. And what was the difference? You stopped thinking and started being present. And so it becomes important, if you want to transform, then you stay present and you repeat what you like, and repetition is what will reprogram your subconscious. So as long as you stop the old talk, put in what you want, and repeat what you want, you have an opportunity to rewrite any program in your life. The two minds, conscious and subconscious, have different functions. Conscious mind is creative, primarily. Subconscious mind is habitual, primarily. The problem is subconscious mind is the habit mind. And habits do not change easily for great benefit. For example, when did you learn how to walk? Most everyone have learned how to walk before 2. Did you have to relearn how to walk? Hopefully not. I say, well, you could be 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 plus years, and you're still using the habit program. So the emphasis on subconscious is not to change easily, because if it does, then habits don't exist for great benefit. For example, when did you learn how to walk? Most everyone have learned how to walk before 2. Did you have to relearn how to walk? Hopefully not. I say, well, you could be 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 plus years, and you're still using the habit program. So the emphasis on subconscious is not to change easily, because if it does, then habits don't exist. So the issue is, then how can you change the subconscious mind? And there are 2 fundamental ways, because these are natural ways. How did you learn in the first 7 years? Hypnosis. So auto-hypnosis is a way of putting in a new program and transforming your life. After age 7, how did you learn after age 7? Repetition. You repeat it. You made habitual habit out of the thing that you wanted. And so this is where the fake it till you make it part comes in. But the issue about it is you have to recognize the biggest error that we have is that we think that if our conscious mind just became aware of something, that our subconscious mind has that information. Absolutely not. So if you want to transform and you want to get out of the old program, just educating the conscious mind will not do that. You have to do some exercise, some process, something. Energy psychology is a new way of changing beliefs as well, very rapidly. But the moment you understand how you can train the subconscious is the moment you are free, because then you become the programmer of your own life.
How amazing was that?
Do not...
Oh, sorry about that. See, pretty fucking amazing. This is the new age version of it all. And I was going to break it down and talk about a bit of it, but unfortunately, I'm still not feeling good, guys. I wanted to put out a video today, and I wanted to break down those things, so I'm going to have to do it in a separate video. My Magic on a Budget video, I talked about Earl Nightingale, and I'm going to play those videos on here in case no one went over and listened to it, just to finish off the time, so you don't get nothing. In it, he gives a way of to manifest things and very clear-cut way, so I hope you enjoy it, listen to it, and do what he did, because I use this to get my unemployment, and when I wasn't available, and I got it to also make my unemployment longer than they actually allow it to be. I'm talking about this on the money on a budget show. But anyways, sorry for the short show and doing this, but I'm just still not feeling good there. Maybe it's the Canada Day coming out of me and all that. But anyways, have a good one, guys.
Some years ago, the late Nobel Prize-winning Dr. Albert Schweitzer was being interviewed in London, and a reporter asked him, "What's wrong with men today?" And the great doctor was silent a moment, and then he said, "Men simply don't think." It's about this that I want to talk with you. We live today in a golden age. This is an era that man has looked forward to, dreamed of, and worked toward for thousands of years. But since it's here, we pretty well take it for granted. We in America are particularly fortunate to live in the richest land that ever existed on the face of the earth, a land of abundant opportunity for everyone. But do you know what happens? Well, let's take 100 men who start even at the age of 25. Do you have any idea what will happen to those men by the time they're 65? These 100 men who all start even at the age of 25 believe they're going to be successful. If you asked any one of these men if he wanted to be a success, he'd tell you he did. And you'd notice that he was eager toward life, that there was a certain sparkle to his eye, an erectness to his carriage, and life seemed like a pretty interesting adventure to him. But by the time they're 65, 1 will be rich. 4 will be financially independent. 5 will still be working. 54 will be broke. Now think a moment. Out of the 100, only 5 make the grade. Now why do so many fail? What has happened to the sparkle that was there when they were 25? What's become of the dreams, the hopes, the plans? And why is there such a large disparity between what these men intended to do and what they actually accomplished? When we say about
this was done in an
success,
interview in
we have to define
1956,
success.
just so
And here's
you
the best
know.
definition I've ever been able to find.
Yeah, I just want to tell you, in
Success is the
1956,
progressive realization
said this to
of a
people.
worthy ideal. If a man is working toward a predetermined goal and knows where he's going, that man is a success. If he's not doing that, he's a failure. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Rollo May, the distinguished psychiatrist, wrote a wonderful book called Man's Search for Himself. And in this book he says, the opposite of courage in our society is not cowardice. It is conformity. And there you have the trouble today. It's conformity. People acting like everyone else without knowing why, without knowing where they're going. Now think of it. In America right now, there are over 18 million people 65 years of age and older. And most of them are broke. They're dependent on someone else for life's necessities. Now, we learn to read by the time we're 7. We learn to make a living by the time we're 25. Usually by that time, we're not only making a living, we're supporting a family. And yet by the time we're 65, we haven't learned how to become financially independent in the richest land that has ever been known. Why? We conform. And the trouble is that we're acting like the wrong percentage group, the 95 who don't succeed. Now, why do these people conform? Well, they really don't know. These people believe that their lives are shaped by circumstances, by things that happen to them, by exterior forces. They're outer-directed people. A survey was made one time that covered a lot of men, working men, and these men were asked, why do you work? Why do you get up in the morning? 19 out of 20 had no idea. If you ask them, they'll say, well, everyone goes to work in the morning, and that's the reason they do it, because everyone else is doing it. Now let's get back to our definition of success. Who succeeds? The only person who succeeds is the person who is progressively realizing a worthy ideal. He's the person who says, I'm going to become this, and then begins to work toward that goal. I'll tell you who the successful people are. A success is the school teacher who's teaching school because that's what he or she wants to do. The success is the woman who's a wife and mother because she wanted to become a wife and mother and is doing a good job of it. The success is the man who runs the corner gas station because that was his dream. That's what he wanted to do. The success is the successful salesman who wants to become a top-notch salesman and grow and build with his organization. A success is anyone who is doing deliberately a predetermined job because that's what he decided to do deliberately. But only 1 out of 20 does that. That's why today there isn't really any competition unless we make it for ourselves. Instead of competing, all we have to do is create. You know, for 20 years I looked for the key which would determine what would happen to a human being. Was there a key I wanted to know which would make the future a promise that we could foretell to a large extent? Was there a key that would guarantee a person's becoming successful if he only knew about it and knew how to use it? Well, there is such a key, and I found it. Have you ever wondered why so many men work so hard and honestly without ever achieving anything in particular, and others don't seem to work hard and yet seem to get everything? They seem to have the magic touch. You've heard them say that about someone. Everything he touches turns to gold. And have you ever noticed that a man who becomes successful tends to continue to become successful? And on the other hand, have you noticed how a man who's a failure tends to continue to fail? Well, it's because of goals. Some of us have goals, some don't. People with goals succeed because they know where they're going. It's that simple. Think of a ship leaving a harbor, and think of it with the complete voyage mapped out and planned. The captain and crew know exactly where it's going and how long it'll take. It has a definite goal. Now, 9,999 times out of 10,000, it will get to where it started out to get. Now, let's take another ship, just like the first, only let's not put a crew on it or a captain at the helm. Let's give it no aiming point, no goal, no destination. We just start the engines and let it go. I think you'll agree with me that if it gets out of the harbor at all, it will either sink or wind up on some deserted beach, a derelict. It can't go anyplace because it has no destination and no guidance, and it's the same with a human being. Take the salesman, for example. There's no other person in the world today with the future of a good salesman. Selling is the world's highest paid profession, if we're good at it, and if we know where we're going. Every company needs top-notch salesmen, and they reward those men. The sky's the limit for them. But how many can you find? Someone once said the human race is fixed, not to prevent the strong from winning, but to prevent the weak from losing. The American economy today can be likened to a convoy in time of war. The entire economy is slowed down to protect its weakest link, just as the convoy had to go at the speed that would permit its slowest vessel to remain in formation. That's why it's so easy to make a living today. It takes no particular brains or talent to make a living and support a family today. So we have a plateau of so-called security, if that's what a person's looking for. But we do have to decide how high above this plateau we want to aim. Now let's get back to the strangest secret in the world, the story that I wanted to tell you today. Why do men with goals succeed in life and men without them fail? Well, let me tell you something which, if you really understand it, will alter your life immediately. If you understand completely what I'm going to tell you from this moment on, your life will never be the same again. You will suddenly find that good luck just seems to be attracted to you. The things you want just seem to fall in line, and from now on you won't have the problems, the worries, the gnawing lump of anxiety that perhaps you've experienced before. Doubt, fear, well, they'll be things of the past. Here's the key to success and the key to failure. We become what we think about. Now let me say that again. We become what we think about. Throughout all history, the great wise men and teachers, philosophers and prophets have disagreed with one another on many different things. It's only on this one point that they are in complete and unanimous agreement. Listen to what Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor, said. A man's life is what his thoughts make of it. strangest secret in the world. Some years ago, the late Nobel Prize-winning Dr. Albert Schweitzer was being interviewed in London, and a reporter asked him, "What's wrong with men today?" And the great doctor was silent a moment, and then he said, "Men simply don't think." It's about this that I want to talk with you. We live today in a golden age. This is an era that man has looked forward to, dreamed of, and worked toward for thousands of years. But since it's here, we pretty well take it for granted. We in America are particularly fortunate to live in the richest land that ever existed on the face of the earth, a land of abundant opportunity for everyone. But do you know what happens? Well, let's take 100 men who start even at the age of 25. Do you have any idea what will happen to those men by the time they're 65? These 100 men who all start even at the age of 25 believe they're going to be successful. If you ask any one of these men if he wanted to be a success, he'd tell you he did. And you'd notice that he was eager toward life, that there was a certain sparkle to his eye, an erectness to his carriage, and life seemed like a pretty interesting adventure to him. But by the time they're 65, 1 will be rich. 4 will be financially independent. 5 will still be working. 54 will be broke. He said, "My years in the newspaper business have convinced me of several things. Among them, that people are basically good, and that we came from someplace, and we're going someplace. So we should make our time here an exciting adventure. The architect of the universe didn't build a stairway leading nowhere." And the greatest teacher of all, the carpenter from the plains of Galilee, gave us the secret time and time again. As ye believe, so shall it be done unto you. I've explained the strangest secret in the world and how it works. Now on this side I want to explain how you can prove to yourself the enormous returns possible in your own life by putting this secret to a practical test. I want you to make a test that will last 30 days. It isn't going to be easy, but if you'll give it a good try, it will completely change your life for the better. Now back in the 17th century, Sir Isaac Newton, the English mathematician and natural philosopher, gave us some natural laws of physics which apply as much to human beings as they do to the movement of bodies in the universe. And one of these laws is that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Simply stated, as it applies to you and me, it means we can achieve nothing without paying the price. The results of your 30-day experiment will be in direct proportion to the effort you put forth. To be a doctor, you must pay the price of long years of difficult study. To be successful in selling, and remember that each of us succeeds to the extent of his ability to sell. Selling our families on our ideas, selling education in schools, selling our children on the advantages of living a good and honest life, selling our associates and employees on the importance of being exceptional people. 2, of course, the profession of selling itself. But to be successful in selling our way to the good life, we must be willing to pay the price. Now what is that price? Well, it's many things. First, it's understanding emotionally as well as intellectually that we literally become what we think about, that we must control our thoughts if we're to control our lives. It's understanding fully that as ye sow, so shall ye reap. Second, it's cutting away all fetters from the mind and permitting it to soar as it was divinely designed to do. It's the realization that your limitations are self-imposed and that the opportunities for you today are enormous beyond belief. It's rising above narrow-minded pettiness and prejudice. And third, it's using all your courage to force yourself to think positively on your own problem, to set a definite and clearly defined goal for yourself, to let your marvelous mind think about your goal from all possible angles, to let your imagination speculate freely upon many different possible solutions, to refuse to believe that there are any circumstances sufficiently strong to defeat you in the accomplishment of your purpose, to act promptly and decisively when your course is clear, and to keep constantly aware of the fact that you are at this moment standing in the middle of your own acres of diamonds, as Russell Conwell used to point out. And fourth, save at least 10% of every dollar you earn. It's also remembering that no matter what your present job, it has enormous possibilities if you're willing to pay the price. Now let's just go over the important points in the price each of us must pay to achieve the wonderful life that can be ours. It is, of course, worth any price. 1, you will become what you think about. 2, remember the word imagination and let your mind begin to soar. 3, courage. Concentrate on your goal every day. 4, save 10% of what you earn. And 5, action. Ideas are worthless unless we act on them. Now, I'll try to outline the 30-day test I want you to make. Keep in mind that you have nothing to lose by making this test and everything you could possibly want to gain. There are two things that may be said of everyone. Each of us wants something, and each of us is afraid of something. I want you to write on a card what it is you want more than anything else. It may be more money. Perhaps you'd like to double your income or make a specific amount of money. It may be a beautiful home. It may be success at your job. It may be a particular position in life. It could be a more harmonious family. Each of us wants something. Now write down on your card specifically what it is you want. Make sure it's a single goal and clearly defined. You needn't show it to anyone, but carry it with you so that you can look at it several times a day. Think about it in a cheerful, relaxed, positive way each morning when you get up, and immediately you have something to work for, something to get out of bed for, something to live for. Look at it every chance you get during the day and just before going to bed at night. And as you look at it, remember that you must become what you think about, and since you're thinking about your goal, you realize that soon it will be yours. In fact, it's yours really the moment you write it down and begin to think about it. Look at the abundance all around you as you go about your daily business. You have as much right to this abundance as any other living creature. It's yours for the asking. Now we come to the difficult part. Difficult because it means the formation of what is probably a brand new habit, and new habits are not easily formed. Once formed, however, it will follow you for the rest of your life. Stop thinking about what it is you fear. Each time a fearful or negative thought comes into your consciousness, replace it with a mental picture of your positive and worthwhile goal. And there will come times when you'll feel like giving up. It's easier for a human being to think negatively than positively. That's why only 5% are successful. You must begin now to place yourself in that group. For 30 days, you must take control of your mind. It will think about only what you permit it to think about. Each day for this 30-day test, do more than you have to do. In addition to maintaining a cheerful, positive outlook, give of yourself more than you've ever done before. Do this knowing that your returns in life must be in direct proportion to what you give. The moment you decide on a goal to work toward, you're immediately a successful person. You are then in that rare and successful category of people who know where they're going. Out of every 100 people, you belong to the top 5. Don't concern yourself too much with how you're going to achieve your goal. Leave that completely to a power greater than yourself. All you have to do is know where you're going. The answers will come to you of their own accord and at the right time. Remember these words from the Sermon on the Mount, and remember them well. Keep them constantly before you this month of your test. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. For every one that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. It's as marvelous and as simple as that. In fact, it's so simple that in our seemingly complicated world, it's difficult for an adult to understand that all he needs is a purpose and faith. For 30 days, do your very best. If you're a salesman, go at it as you've never done before, not in a hectic fashion, but with the calm, cheerful assurance that time well spent will give you the abundance in return you deserve and want. Gather your whole family around at regular intervals and listen to what's been said here. You know, most men will tell you that they want to make money without understanding the law. The only people who make money work in a mint. The rest of us must earn money. This is what causes those who keep looking for something for nothing or a free ride to fail in life. The only way to earn money is by providing people with services or products which are needed and useful. We exchange our time and our product or service for the other man's money. Therefore, the law is that our financial return will be in direct proportion to our service. Now, success is not the result of making money. Making money is the result of success, and success is in direct proportion to our service. Most people have this law backwards. They believe that you're successful if you earn a lot of money. The truth is that you can only earn money after you're successful. It's like the story of the man who sat in front of the stove and said to it, "Give me heat, and then I'll add the wood." How many men and women do you know, or do you suppose there are today, who take the same attitude toward life? There are millions. We've got to put the fuel in before we can expect heat. Likewise, we've got to be of service first before we can expect money. Don't concern yourself with the money. Be of service, build, work, dream, create. Do this and you'll find there's no limit to the prosperity and abundance that will come to you. Prosperity, you know, is founded upon a law of mutual exchange. Any person who contributes to prosperity must prosper in turn himself. Sometimes the return will not come from those you serve, but it must come to you from someplace, because that's the law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. As you go daily through your 30-day test period, remember that your success will always be measured by the quality and quantity of service you render, and money is a yardstick for measuring this service. No man can get rich himself unless he enriches others. Now, there are no exceptions to a law. You can drive down any street in America and from your car estimate the service that's being rendered by the people living on that street. Had you ever thought of this yardstick before? It's interesting. Some, like ministers and priests and other devoted people, measure their returns in the realm of the spiritual, but again, their returns are equal to their service. Once this law is fully understood, any thinking person can tell his own fortune. If he wants more, he must be of more service to those from whom he receives his return. If he wants less, he has only to reduce his service. This is the price you must pay for what you want. If you believe you can enrich yourself by deluding others, you can end only by deluding yourself. It may take some time, but just as surely as you breathe, you'll get back what you put out. Don't ever make the mistake of thinking you can avert this. It's impossible. The prisons and the streets where the lonely walk are filled with people who tried to make new laws just for themselves. We may avoid the laws of man for a while, but there are greater laws that cannot be broken. An outstanding medical doctor recently pointed out 6 steps that will help you realize success. 1. Set yourself a definite goal. 2. Quit running yourself down. 3. Stop thinking of all the reasons why you cannot be successful and instead think of all the reasons why you can. 4. Trace your attitudes back through your childhood and try to discover where you first got the idea you couldn't be successful, if that's the way you've been thinking. 5. Change the image you have of yourself by writing out a description of the person you would like to be. And 6. Act the part of the successful person you have decided to become. The doctor who wrote those words is a noted West Coast psychiatrist, Dr. David Harold Fink. Do what the experts since the dawn of recorded history have told you must do. Pay the price by becoming the person you want to become. It's not nearly as difficult as living unsuccessfully. Make your 30-day test, then repeat it again, and each time it will become more a part of you until you'll wonder how you could ever have lived any other way. Live this new way and the floodgates of abundance will open and pour over you more riches than you may have dreamed existed. Money? Yes, lots of it. But what's more important, you'll have peace. You'll be in that wonderful minority who lead calm, cheerful, successful lives. Start today. You have nothing to lose, but you have a whole life to win.
Just for a few seconds. And then he turned around and he looked at me. And he said, I'm hungry. You want to go for lunch? And I said, sure. I said, we can go for lunch. But I said, I thought you invited me here to pray for rain. And this is when he turned and looked at me. And what he said changed my life. It changed my perspective and the way I think about my relationship to the world. I'm going to share it with you. Maybe it'll change yours as well. Here's what he said. I said, I thought you prayed for rain. And he said, no. He said, if I prayed for rain, rain could never happen. Because the moment we ask for something to happen in this world, in the asking for, we are affirming that it does not exist now. I invite you to think about that. When we ask the universe for something, we are implying that whatever we're asking for, or asking about, or asking to appear, or asking to happen, is not present in the moment.
See you guys next